All right, so the first thing we need is a definition of rate of change. So let's use this bar here as like a fraction bar of this thing. So it's going to be a ratio. It's going to be the change in the dependent variable. So the change in the dependent variable and that's going to be divided by the change in the independent variable. And really, so all that is that's just a fancy way of saying that the dependent variable was the y value, right? And the independent variable, that was the x value. So really, this is just a fancy way of saying this is the change in, this is going to be the y values on the top, and this is going to be the x values on the bottom. So really, it's just the change in y over the change in the x. All right, so then let's do this with this table right here. So when we talk about a rate of change, it's like a speed. It's how fast one quantity is changing with respect to another one. So for example, here on number 1, they want us to do this 4 separate times here, so let me get this centered up. All right, that should work. All right, so they want the change from day 1 to day 6. So that means we're just looking at these 2 points right here. This point and this point. And remember, this is like the x. That's like our domain values. And this is like the y. So day 1 to 6, those are the x's. The x's go on the bottom. Okay, when you do the rate of change, remember it said the independent variable was on the bottom. So again, let's use this like a fraction bar here again. So what we're going to do is we're going to subtract the x's on the bottom. So that's going to be 6 minus 1. And on the top, we're going to, in the numerator, we're going to subtract the y values, which are 285 and then minus 550. All right, so then, let me get a calculator here. So 285 minus 550, that's negative 265. So we get a negative 265 over 6 minus 1 is 5. And then you're gonna want to divide that out on the calculator. So do 265 divided by 5. And we get a negative 53. And that would be over 1. All right? And then think about what the units would be here. So the balance we're talking about is that's like the amount of money you have in your checking account or something like that. And then the x's, those are the days. So the y's are the amount of money. That's the balance. So this would be in dollars over days. So what that tells you is that the negative, first of all, says that quantity is decreasing, the balance is decreasing. And so then that tells you that the balance is decreasing at a rate of $53 per day. Does that kind of make sense? So it's going down $53 for each day. And then you don't have to write it like that. Usually, I mean, you can also write it like here. Let me write it right here. You can also write it as just negative 53 and then dollars per day. So you can also write it like that. Let me circle this one. All right, let's do the other ones. So then we got to do it the same thing from day 6 to day 16. So again, we're going to subtract the x's, which are the days. We're going to subtract those on the bottom. So that is going to look like, let me zoom in a little bit more. All right, so that's going to look like 16 minus 6 on the bottom. And then in the numerator, we're going to subtract the y's, which would be, now we're using these 2 points now, right? This one and this one. So the numerator, we're going to subtract the y's, which is going to give us 210 minus 285. All right. So let's see. So if we do 210 minus 285, that's going to give us a negative 75. Over 16 minus 6 is 10. But then we're going to divide that out on the calculator. And we're going to get, what is that? Negative 7.5 over 1. And again, that will be in, the numerator is the y's, that's in dollars. The denominator, that's in days. So I guess since we're talking about money here, we probably want to write this as negative 7.50 dollars per day. So for that second time period from day 6 to day 16, over that time interval, your balance in your checking account is going down at a rate of $7.50 a day. And let's keep going at the last two here. So then we got to do from, we got to use these 2 points, right? From day 16 to day 22. So again, we're going to subtract the x's on the bottom. So that is going to be, and that's going to be important in all this stuff, okay? The x's are going to be on the bottom. So we're going to do 22 minus 16. And then the numerator, we've got, we're subtracting the y values, which would be 210 minus 210. What's 210 minus 210? 0. That's 0. So you get 0 over 22 minus 16 is 6. Well, that's just 0, right? 0 divided by any number is 0. So it's $0 per day. Well, what's that tell you about the y values? What happened to the y values here?
They didn't change.
Yeah, they didn't change, right? There was no change. So after 16 days, you had $210 in your bank account, and after 22 days, you still had $210 in your bank account. So there was no change. That's why this answer is 0 right here. So the amount of money is constant. So the balance is neither increasing or decreasing. All right, so then let's do the last one. So on the last one, this is the longest part of this whole lesson is this thing. So on the last one, we're going from day 30 or day 22 to day 30. So we're going to do day 30 minus day 22. And then in the numerator, we're going to do the balance at day 30, which is 175, minus the balance at day 22, which was 210. And that should give us, what is that, negative 35? So we get negative 35 over 8. And then divide that out on the calculator. And we get, if we round off, we got 4.38. So we got a negative 4.38 dollars per day. Which means from day 22 to day 30, the amount of money or your balance is decreasing at a rate of $4.38 a day. All right, then we had a question up here at the top, by the way. The question was, let me see if I can get all these to stay on the screen. The question's up here. It's this thing. It says, over which time interval did the balance decrease at the greatest rate? So what would it be? Yeah. Yeah, day 1 to day 6. You guys see that? So the answer to the question is actually this one right here, this one. Because for that first, from day 1 to day 6, the balance in your account was decreasing at a rate of $53 per day. So that's the answer to the question, is that one. And that was the most tedious part of this lesson. The rest of this should go really, really quick. All right. You guys good so far? Bless you. All right. So then this next thing says, if we have a graph, then we call the rate of change, well, it's called the slope. So just write in slope on that blank. All right, and the slope, sometimes it's also called the rise over the run. Again, I'll use that as a fraction bar right there. So it's the rise over the run. And then up above, I really already said that it's the change in y divided by the change in x. And that'll tell you how fast the y value is changing with respect to a 1 unit change in x. And then look at these graphs. So on the first one there, you got a graph going uphill left to right. So there is the slope going to be positive, negative, 0, or undefined.
Positive.
Yep. If you're going uphill left to right, your slope is positive. So right here, you want to write positive slope. Let me slide up a little bit. That's about as far as I can get, I think. What's up, Ryan?
What does that say under rise?
Overrun. Okay, so this one has a positive slope. And then the next one, you're going downhill left or right. So what do you think the slope is there?
Negative.
Yep, negative, good. So this is a negative slope on this one. And then the third one, you got a horizontal line. Well, that means the y values are not changing, right? They're constant. So what do you think the slope is there?
0.
Yeah, it's like the one we had up here. See how the y values were the same? The y values were both 210. So then we were really doing the slope. I didn't really tell you that's what we were doing, but this is the slope right here. So the slope was 0. So that one's a 0 slope. And then the last one there, I don't know if you've ever heard this before, when it's a vertical line, this one,
Undefined.
yeah, it's really like that slope is infinite. It's a vertical line. So, but how the book says it is undefined slope. So that one has an undefined slope. So remember that for the quiz on Friday. That'll be one of the questions. If you have a horizontal line, it's a 0 slope. If you got a vertical line, then that's an undefined slope. And then do we have more on the next page or no?
Yeah.
Okay. So then we just got these 3 graphs. We got to find the slope. So, well, I already said it's the rise over the run, correct? So the slope for this first one, well, if you do the rise over the run, What's the rise?
Three.
3. And then what's the run?
1.
1. So it's 3 over 1. Now we're going to do the same thing on the next one, but we need to find a couple of points that cross right on the grid in order to do it. So in other words, we're looking for something, you don't have to write this part. You're looking for something where, you know, like your point is right where the grid crosses like that. And then maybe like that. You don't want to pick a point that's like out here floating in the middle of a square, okay? So let's see what we can do on this one. So what do we got? We could do, I don't know, it's not that accurate. It looks like maybe this one right here and this one right here. And when we do these, let me zoom in a little bit for you guys. When we do these, we always go left to right. So you always go from, now those points are really big. Let's make them a little bit smaller. Well, I didn't want that one. I want this one. So we always go from the point on the left, so I'll call that L, to the point on the right. I'll call that R. So how do I get from that point on the left to the point on the right? Do I got to go up or down?
Down.
Yeah, I got to go down. How far did I go down?
3 spaces.
3? So that's going to be, my rise is going to be a -3. And then how far do I got to go to the right? 2. That's my run. So I'm still just going to do rise over run. So my slope on this one is equal to rise over run. Well, I'm not really rising. I'm actually going down, right? So my rise is a -3. And my run is a 2. And then the last one, that one you need to look at it. What's the slope of that one?
Undefined.
Yeah, if it's vertical, it's undefined, right? So that slope is going to be undefined. So the slope is undefined. And then I think we got a couple blanks we got to fill in here or something. It says some lines are steeper than the other. So that is, the slope is a measure of the steepness. So I'm not sure what they want in here, but I think it's something like the larger the slope, the steeper the line. And that should make sense to you guys. Don't have to draw this, but over on the side here, if I just draw you something real quick. Like if you had a slope of 10, that would be like if you had a point here, that'd be up 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 over 1. Well, can you guys see that? That would be pretty steep. That's a pretty steep line, right? Then if you had a slope that was just like, I don't know, what should we do? If you had a slope of like 3 over 2, which is the same thing as 1.5, right? If you had a slope of 3 over 2 or 1.5 over 1, that would be, the rise would be 3, so you go up 3, and the run would be right 2. So can you guys see that that slope is less steep than the one that's 10 over 1? All right, we can leave it there for that, for this stuff then. I think that's good enough. So let's see. I think that was the last of it, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yep. All right, so let me stop this.